All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing good today. It is Tuesday, July 22nd. We got a lot of news coming out right now, really. I hope you guys are doing good today. We got Sherwin-Williams dropping earnings. Coca-Cola recently dropped earnings. RTX dropped earnings. MSCI dropped earnings. We had Bank of England members speaking. A lot of earnings come out this morning. We got Synchrony Financial. We got the Bank of England's Governor Bailey says the Bank of England is going to work with commercial banks as successful. Bailey would question if digital currency is needed. Danaher Corporation showed up at 180 EPS, expected 164 revenue of 5.9 versus 5.83 billion. DR Horton posted earnings 336 EPS versus 290 expected, revenue of 9.2 versus 8.7 expected. Target announced back-to-school savings event with deals on new must-have school items. Oracle is reportedly going to supply OpenAI with 2 million AI chips for data centers. This is from the information. So ORCL reportedly going to supply OpenAI with 2 million AI chips for data centers. We also had FedEx, which filed for a two-part euro-denominated note. Size wasn't disclosed. We had MMG stock says that Lumbabas copper production guidance remains between 360 and 400,000 tons. Equifax posted earnings. They showed up at $2 a share versus $191. Revenue of $153 versus $151. Another beat there. We had GM post 253 EPS versus 241 expected. Beat EPS. Revenue beat expectations at 47.12 versus 46.49. Fiscal guidance unchanged. MSCI posted adjusted EPS of 417 versus 414. Revenue of 773. You can see MSCI here. Not really moving much, but up a little bit. You can see KO reported earnings. Recently turned though. Coca-Cola posted 87 cents versus 83 cents, 12.5 versus 12.53. So they missed revenue. They said they were confident in their trajectory to deliver on their updated 25 guidance and longer term objectives, but they recently turned down. Coca-Cola now technically red on the day. Philip Morris posted earnings. They posted 191 versus 186 EPS, revenue of 10.1 versus 1036. They missed revenue. Raised fiscal year guidance though for Philip Morris, and you can see them here. They are down as well. Coca-Cola also said they're going to launch a U.S. cane sugar offering this fall. Google is seeking to recruit new organizations for new licensing projects related to AI, according to Bloomberg. And if you take a look at Google, they are up really nicely still. They've had a really good day yesterday as well, and they're continuing to push up there in the 192 area as we speak. So that's the recent news. We had RTX post earnings 156 versus 144. Again, RTX 156 versus 144 EPS, revenue of 24.58 versus 20.65. So they missed revenue. So a lot of companies actually missed revenue today. RTX is down on this as well. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of these companies miss revenue this morning. Powell speaks at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to stream it all live like we always do. No. And yeah, so S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, mostly down today. NASDAQ. S&P and NASDAQ futures are down. Dow remains somewhat flat. Investors are watching the reactions to the earnings that were recently released for RTX, Coca-Cola, Philip Morris, and more. One of the big stories of the day is stalled trade talks with the European Union and India are key. A lot of people are paying attention to that. The European Union is preparing countermeasures as U.S. tariff threats loom for August 1st in about a week. Oil prices are going down amid increasing trade fears and a weaker dollar. So if you look at oil's down to $65 a barrel as we speak. Again, Powell's scheduled to speak today at a regulatory conference. All right, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent criticized the Fed for fear-mongering over tariffs and called for a review amid current administration's pressure on Jerome Powell. We also had General Motors just come out saying that their CFO said that tariff impact is in line with expectations but remains in a bit of an adjustment phase. Dollar is range bound. Futures are slightly weaker amid earnings and trade fears. What's up, BT? Do you think we're in a bubble with a high chance to burst at the end of the year in 2026? I mean, I think it's possible. I hope we're not, but I mean, it's possible. Oh, let me drink some coffee. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. I hope we're not, but you know, anything's possible there. All right, so earlier this morning, Needham did adjust their price target on Amazon to 265 from 220, maintained buy rating. Amazon's slightly green on the day with a lot of other Mag 7 stocks. Meta's green. Microsoft slightly red. Google's very green. AMD is red. Apple is green. Nvidia is pretty red. It's down to 169 at the lows this morning. All right, so we're going to do a poll, as we always do. Yeah, so we're going to do a poll here. Are you bullish or bearish for today's market action? Vote on that poll. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, I mean, remember, Powell's just speaking as the opening remarks in front of a conference, so we'll see what that looks like, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Who knows? All right, guys. So, yeah, I'm looking up other news, but NASDAQ back down to the 200 exponential. I kind of want to buy this dip, but I don't know yet. I think I'll wait. Money went directly to stimulated U.S. sectors that are now at a slight advantage due to tariffs. Yeah, maybe. 5-week uptrend correction, astrological date, falling dollar index all lines up. Correction today. Maybe. General Motors tops profit expectations, so warns of more tariff pain. Yeah, ASML still a pretty beat up stock here. I mean, if we take a look at it. Down again this morning. We're kind of at a level where I might be interested in buying this thing, though, to be honest. You know. Where's Bitcoin at this morning? Bitcoin's up to 119. So Bitcoin looks pretty good this morning. Got up to 121s yesterday, so that's nice. Tesla had about 328 this morning ahead of their earnings tomorrow. So remember, Tesla has earnings tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know, Sam, regarding that one, bro. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't know. 20 million shares, so I might break even. I'm trying to drink my coffee. Yeah. All right, guys. Sorry, I'm reading something. Okay. All right, guys, so we're kind of bouncing right here. Powell is scheduled to speak at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we'll put a timer up. Thank you, Sam. Powell is speaking today specifically for a discussion at the European Central Bank Forum on Central Banking 2025 in Portugal. Or no, I'm sorry, that's wrong. I don't know why I just said that. Powell is speaking today at the Integrated Review of Capital Frameworks for Large Banks conferences in Washington, D.C. So again, he's speaking at the Integrated Review of the Capital Framework for Large Bank Conference in Washington. So we'll see what he says. And remember, next week we got the FOMC meeting. What's up, Pawn? Yes, GM CEO thinks we're going to see more tariff impact. All right. Good PCE GDP will be up, CPI slightly up, PPI 0. What is the problem? Well, I mean, GDP was negative 0.5%. I don't know if I'd consider that necessarily good. We haven't seen the quarter 2 GDP yet. And so I think that's the biggest hiccup is GDP data. GDP negative is not necessarily a good economic sign. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on. Negative GDP is negative GDP. I don't think quarter 2 is going to be negative, but what I think doesn't really matter. I think we got to wait and see what the data actually shows up as next week, next Wednesday. The same day as the Fed meeting, we get GDP data. So it'll be an interesting week for sure. We'll see what happens. But that's kind of where we're at now, where we have negative GDP for quarter one of this year, and we're waiting to see what we got for quarter two. Let me see what the expected number is next week. Expected number for GDP next week. I still think it's like 2.3%, so I don't think it's negative. Here it is. You know, we're also looking at the expected. You know, we've had the ADP non-farm employment change data last time showed up at negative 33,000 jobs. So negative job number. Last ADP non-farm data release. Looking into next week for what's expected for GDP. It doesn't show me what we expect next week for GDP. Let me see if if I can figure this out. Hold on. All right, so I'm asking AI if they could look up what the expected quarter two GDP is. So take it with a grain of salt. It might be AI. But Bloomberg thinks 2.1%. Wall Street Journal 2.2%. Atlanta Fed GDP Now thinks 2.4%. Philly Fed thinks 1.5%. So most are between 2.1 to 2.4% for quarter two. There's one outlier with Philly Fed at 1.5. So this is July 30th, the same day as the Fed meeting. So, I mean, they don't think quarter two is going to be nearly as bad as quarter one. But I hope we cut in September. I think we should, you know. But I fear inflation, and so I get it. But I think we'll cut in September. Do you think Powell was doing a good job? Well, I'm not sure. I'm not going to comment on that. I mean, I think Powell's doing okay. I think we haven't entered a recession. But I think inflation in the last 5 years has been pretty bad. And, you know, I think their job is to maintain both of those things. And so I think inflation over the last 5 years has been bad. But at the same time, I think if we're going to criticize the inflation aspect of it, we can't really criticize him not cutting rates sooner. Because the reason he's not cutting rates sooner is to try to avoid worse inflation pressure. So if that makes sense. We did have some recent news come out that said Mohammed El-Erian posts on X, quote, if Chair Powell's objective is to safeguard the Fed's operational autonomy, which I deem vital, then he should resign, end quote. And then I'm continuing to read, and this is the full post. I'm quoting this, okay? It says, quote, this morning U.S. government criticism of both Fed Chair Powell and the institution itself has broadened to include mission creep and the effectiveness of other officials. The developments of the last few days reinforce my view. If Chair Powell's objective is to safeguard the Fed's operational autonomy, which I deem vital, then he should resign. I recognize this is the consensus. This isn't the consensus view which favors him staying until the end of his tenure in May, nor is it a first best, which is simply not attainable. Yet, it is better than what is playing out now. Growing and broadening threats to Fed independence and will undoubtedly increase should he remain in office. As to market reaction, most of the frequently mentioned candidates to replace Chair Powell would be able to calm any potential market jitters, end quote, on an X post. That recently came out about 4 minutes ago. So, let me know if you agree or disagree with it. Let me catch back up in the chat here. What's up, Beach? GMCEO. What time is Powell speaking? 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Let me put the timer up. It's in about an hour. All right, NASDAQ bouncing right here at this 200 exponential. Maybe I should have taken it. What's up, Beach Bum? How you doing, man? Everybody go check out Beach Bum's channel. He's got some good swing trading content. Lockheed Martin recently posted some earnings just now. EPS, I didn't see what the EPS actually was. Revenue of 18.2. They expected 18.5. I'm seeing a lot of companies miss revenue today. I recently took a deep dive into what economic data can most easily be manipulated. Big conclusions where the GDP and trade balance are the most difficult to manipulate. Yeah. I missed a bunch. Whatever your opinion is, I'm usually right there. Hey, thank you, B. Yeah, again, my opinion is pretty neutral. I think you could probably argue either side pretty reasonably, and I don't think it's super obvious either side. I know the people that want rate cuts are going to say, hey, it's super obvious we should cut rates. And I know the people who don't want rate cuts are going to say, hey, it's super obvious we shouldn't cut rates. And I don't think either of those things are true. I think most of it is arguable right now. Negative GDP signals potentially a need to cut rates, at least an argument for it. But as well as like low inflation data also signals potentially the green light to cut rates. And so weak GDP and low inflation data, you could argue that we could get a rate cut, or we could have had one already. But on the other end of that, you know, quarter two, they're expecting 2.2, 2.1, 2.4% GDP next Wednesday for quarter two. That's not really super weak. That's pretty positive GDP. Payrolls have been stronger than expected. You know, and so I think I don't think it's super obvious either way. I think both sides are going to act like their answer is obvious, but I don't think either one of them is really easy, and I think we're somewhere in the middle. You could probably argue either side pretty reasonably. The same people that say we need rate cuts, the same people say the economy is great. Yeah, I mean, that contradicts. Like, if the economy is great, we don't need rate cuts. The whole reason to cut rates is to stimulate a weak economy. And so if we don't have a weak economy, we don't necessarily need to cut rates. That's going to be Powell's argument. Not saying I agree or disagree or whatever. That's going to be Powell's argument. And so at this point in time, it really is somewhere in the middle. Deutsche updated their price target to 266 on Amazon from 230. They maintain their buy rating. Yeah, looking at the earnings today, I'm going to post this here. You can see mostly green, but a lot of companies actually missed revenue. So for some reason, they say these are under. Yeah, this earnings season is showing mostly strength, although the reactions have been mixed because of guidance. GM, Philip Morris, RTX, Danaher, DHI, KeyCorp, NOC. DGX, Sherwin-Williams, missed EPS, beat revenue. All right, so we're still testing this level right here, this 2310 level. SPY slightly red. Same thing with the NASDAQ again. No PDT would be a good thing, as I'm assuming what you meant. Personally, no rate cut this year, but let's see. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I assume you meant. I mean, I think no PDT would be great, honestly. I don't think it'll happen, but I think it'll be great. All right, Google says at least some of the Microsoft server hacks carried out by China Nexus threat actor, end quote. Lockheed Martin also posted net sales of 18.16 versus 18.53, so they beat revenue, EPS of 146. Are they voting on that? Let me ask. Let me look it up. All right, Treasury Secretary Bassett says tariffs are bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. according to a Fox interview. No official vote has taken place to eliminate PDT rule. Here's several retail traders have launched petitions urging the SEC and FINRA to modify or abolish the PDT rule, arguing it's outdated, restricts small accounts, and hinders freedom. They have received at least 3 petitions. Yeah, you know what? You want to know the problem is that the banks want to sit on your money longer. Right? The banks want to sit on your money longer. That's why they have the PDT rule. Right? Like, that's why it's here. They want to sit on your money longer, earn more interest. Even though it might seem like a small amount of money for only a couple days or whatever while your funds settle and do all that stuff. That's what they want. They want to sit on it longer. But yeah, according to AI, they're not voting on it. Not that I'm seeing. There's some retail chatter about it, though, about getting rid of the PDT rule. But yeah. Y'all give me a follow on x.com @beginnertrades. We post all the snapshot of like big earnings that dropped. We post all the breaking news. The latest one is Treasury Secretary Bassett saying that they're bringing tariffs and manufacturing back to the U.S. I hope it goes away, Ryan. I mean, I hope they're right. I don't know. But I hope it goes away. Morning, just a question, bro. Why did you open the SPY chart? There's a correlation between the SPY and the NASDAQ. Well, yeah. I mean, they're all correlated. SPY, NASDAQ, Dow, you know. We're just looking at all the different ones. Here's the NASDAQ, here's the SPY, here's NVIDIA. These are just the big 3 most people watch. S&P, NASDAQ, you know, NVIDIA, Tesla, AMD, whatever big stock they want to look at. You know. Yeah, Russell. I don't really like the Russell. It's small caps, but yeah. All right, so Bowman says it's time to look at banking regulations broadly. Hey, thank you too. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm trying to break 4,000 followers. I don't plug it enough. Like, I don't ever plug my X, but maybe I should plug it more. We get some good views. Like every post we do usually gets between 100 and like 1,000 views, sometimes more than that. But went long at 23,290. Yeah, I was looking at this 200 exponential on the NASDAQ, but yeah. Yeah, and I'm looking at Amazon. Amazon got upgraded a couple different times. Nvidia's still red. It's at 170s. But Amazon's green. It's at 230s. Got upgraded by a couple different analyst banks. Yeah, y'all hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. We appreciate it. What's your take on Tesla today? Tesla's up, down over the last 24 hours though. Hit almost 340s yesterday at the open, and then it kind of has been pulling back since. But it's starting to rebound back up today. It's almost green. If you take a look at Tesla, it's got earnings tomorrow, so it might be a little interesting. Look at this move happening right now in the NASDAQ. Here's Tesla. Could be driven by Tesla. Tesla now technically green on the day, but look at this move. Wow. Look at this. Gotta look to see if any news just came out. Yeah, so Treasury Secretary Bessent says a lot of deals include substantial investments in the U.S. Bessent on tariffs said that tariffs would boomerang back. We can still negotiate. He said it's a pretty hard deadline, and we're about to announce a rash of trade deals in the coming days. Yeah. And so again, that's what I told you guys last week, right? Like, if you remember, one of the things I said is I expect trade deals to be announced a week, like starting a week prior, right? Which would be tomorrow. Tomorrow, Thursday, it would be a week prior to the deadline. Friday is technically the time, but I expect if you want the announcements of the trade deals to have a positive impact on markets, what are you gonna do, right? You're gonna wait until the week prior to make the announcements because everybody's all unknown, they don't know what's gonna happen, and then boom, you announce these trade deals and the market in theory runs right on optimism as we get closer to the deadline. It just makes it much more of a quick reaction to the tariff deals, if that makes sense, right? So I think we're gonna hear some trade deals come out over the next week and a half. I think that's the most logical way they could do it, and I think it makes sense for them to do it that way. And that's kind of something that we're seeing Bessent mirror here. Is again, he said, quote, "We're about to announce a rash of trade deals in the coming days." So we'll see. Yeah, I think this move is from Bessent's quote here. We're testing the, is this the highs of the day? No, not really. Highs of the day are up here at 350 or so. But we're bouncing up. It's the high of the last 4 hours, 5 hours. Tesla going green on the day as well here. European Union deal has to be finalized. Yeah. Yeah, Tesla up there. Bitcoin rising. European Union wants to take on the president with tariff situation? Maybe. You got to understand, they say things. Everybody says that. Most people don't want the tariffs to impact them, though. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of posturing by countries that, it's pretty standard. I mean, you would too. All right, so Bessent on China trade. He said, if we can do more manufacturing, China does more consumption, that would be a home run. He said, we'll be in talks Monday and Tuesday between China on... will likely work out an extension. He said, we've moved to a new level in China talks. Yeah, but didn't the president promise no more extensions? Again, people might hear me say this and think I'm being critical. I'm not. I'm genuinely asking a question. Like, didn't he promise no more extensions? I was assuming we wouldn't extend anything else past August 1st. But who knows, man? You never know. All right, chat. We got about 700 people here. We still got 45 minutes before Jerome Powell speaks. But we do have Powell speaking today. So again, Besant said on China trade, if we can do more manufacturing, they do more consumption, that would be a home run. Also, the market chatter that I've seen this morning is that the White House is searching for partners to construct the global dome system, making a pivot away from SpaceX amid the president's, fractured relationship with Elon, according to Reuters, reported today, on citing 3 sources familiar with it. No, Powell didn't speak yet. Besant spoke. Powell speaks early. Yeah, so Powell is speaking. Let me make sure. Integrated review of the capital frameworks for large banks conference in Washington, D.C. Okay, I found the speech. Okay, good. Yeah, so at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, Powell delivers the opening remarks. That's what we're going to cover. We need a drop before the cut. Yeah, I've used Webull. What's up, Joe? What's up, Graph? Yeah, 8:30. Yeah, I mean, I've heard about the taco thing a lot, which is basically a counter president, Possible dip buy opportunity, LEU. Honestly, the one I'm looking at is ASML. ASML's down big, right? Like, I'm kind of interested in buying it. But, I mean, at the same time, ASML has been on a long-term downward trend. The only thing stopping me is ASML's been on a long-term downward trend. They were at $1,100 back in July of last year. They're now at $719, and they hit $600 in March and April. So they've just been down big. Only thing stopping me from buying that. TSMC is better. You mean TSM? Symbol. TSM's not really on a dip. It's at the highs of the year. Hit highs of the year over the last few days. Pulling back short term, but it's still pretty extended up there. I mean, it's a bet on AI, though. Lockheed Martin. Yeah, you can watch the speech here. We're going to stream the full speech live right here. I'll put a... long term, that makes semiconductors to the level of finesse. Yeah, I mean, I get it. All right, so Treasury Secretary Besant also said by quarter one of next year, we're going to see GDP growth at 3% or higher. He said you could annualize tariff revenue at $300 billion. He said June budget surplus was also a product of spending cuts, and that tariff revenue is a big number, could be 1% of GDP. So we're just trying to cover Bessent's speech. There's comments right now. He said chance of 2.8 trillion tariff revenue over a decade, and the June budget surplus was also product of spending cuts. He said there will be tough talks with G7 on Russia. I'm gonna be in touch with Europe about oil tariffs there. But India is issue on Russia oil. Going to be in touch with Europeans. So that's basically Bessent's speech right now, or comments. Jerome Powell speaking at 8:30. It might be in big yellow letters right here. You know. All right, so NASDAQ's still pretty strong. We're at 325s right now. I should have bought that dip. A lot of this has to do with what Bessent is saying. Specifically, I think the big mover of markets is the potential extension on China regarding trade. We got 35 minutes, give or take. I see GameStop trending. Where's GameStop at right now? It's down to 24s. But green yesterday. GameStop had a really green day yesterday. What's Cohen over there doing? All right, so Steve Cohen's .72 Asset Management has reported $29 million worth of GameStop puts in their latest 13F filing. Remember, they lost at least 15% on GameStop in 21. A lot of people are saying it's time for GameStop to run again. GameStop ran yesterday too. I'm watching GameStop today. We'll see. I guess the whole point of the put notification is that squeeze potential is the point of that. So, all right. So Zion upgraded at Jefferies and Lulu downgraded at JP Morgan. Yeah, Lululemon all the way down to 220s, bro. Dude, I hate to be right about these, bro. People always argue. They get weird. They get mad. Dude, honestly, the only thing that's made me ever want to start a short report, and I've said this a bunch, but honestly, this is what I think about when I see this, is that I said this when Lulu was at $400 a share. You know, same thing with like Beyond Meat, with Peloton, with like a lot of these companies. I think there's certain companies that you could look at. You can look at them and just say, hey, this might not hold, right? And I think one of the most obvious ones is fashion companies that get overinflated short term. You got to look at the story behind it of Lululemon, in which like 2020 happened, leisure wear became really big because everybody's stuck at home, right? And so Lululemon takes off, hyper expensive. You buy a little flimsy hat, it's $100. But styles change, trends change, interests change. And so within 5 years later, people still buy Lululemon, don't get me wrong. But they certainly don't buy it as much. It's certainly not as busy as it once was, and it's certainly not as cool as it once was. And so what happens with Lululemon stock? It drops 50%. It's down to 223s from 420s. And I think this is pretty predictable. I think this is a pretty predictable nuance of like changing, of like interest changing. Lululemon down to 220s. Here's a long-term chart. You know, the problem would be holding on to a short position this long. That would be the hard thing to capitalize on. But, you know, a lot of people argued with me about this one. And maybe it rebounds and succeeds. It's not like it's done. It could. But it's not something I feel comfortable holding in a long-term portfolio for me personally, just because it's too trendy. Trends change. generations change is what it is, right? Like generations sprout up. Kids don't want to wear what their parents wear. And so they find new cool clothing brands. Maybe it's cyclical and eventually it'll come back around. Like you see kind of like with Jinkos and baggy pants. Now, I grew up in the 90s. So, you know, it's cyclical. But I'm not going to bet on the stock. I'm not going to buy Jinko stock. I'm not going to buy Abercrombie & Fitch stock. Maybe I should have bought Abercrombie. I'm not going to buy Hollister stock. And I think we see a similar thing with Lululemon. Yeah, I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose. I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about anything I say. Lulu might run tomorrow. I don't freaking know. But don't copy me. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, yeah, Nike is legacy, right? And this is the argument I'd always tell them, that people would always bring up Nike. They'd be like, well, what about Nike? And I would tell them, I'd be like, Nike is a legacy company. Nike's been around for freaking half a century. You know, Lululemon has not, right? And even with that, you could look at Nike, sure. What about all the other fashion companies? Adidas not looking that healthy, you know? Reebok not looking that healthy. There's a lot of companies I could reference not looking that healthy. And so I'm not really interested in buying up fashion companies. It's too trendy. Trends change. They can change in this, you know. I can snap my fingers and the trend could change tomorrow. Not a reliable long-term bet. And I think this is incredibly clear and incredibly obvious. And I think, you know, yeah. Right, me too, simply. I'd rather put my money in tech or, you know. Yeah, I'd rather put my money in tech. Right, Nike's much bigger. It's legacy. Nike sells shoes, and shoes have a much bigger market than anything Lululemon does. Right? And so, anyways, it is now 9 o'clock, or 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Hey, shout out to all the follows on X.com. I appreciate it. Help me hit 4,000 followers. We're very close. Yeah, I'm invested in crypto. I hold right now I hold like XRP, I hold Bitcoin, I hold a little bit of Doge. I hold a couple, you know, I hold some stuff. The Powell speech is at 8:30 Eastern time, I think. Let me make sure. (8:30) starts. Opening remarks by Powell. Yeah. I think I probably have a little bit of ETH. Let me save this. All right, so we had Mexican retail sales year over year show up at 2.7 versus 1% expected. All right, chat. So we got Fed Jerome Powell in 30 minutes here. 30 minutes. Okay. Johnson & Johnson announced a strategic agreement with Pacira Biosciences to expand early intervention. Yeah, we got Jerome Powell live. There. Alright guys, let me pivot away from Alright guys, so yeah, I'm getting this Powell speech ready. Give me 1 second. Powell speaks in less than 30 minutes. NASDAQ's running up. SPY is technically green on the day now. If we take a look at NVIDIA, NVIDIA's running up with us right now. It's at 170s, but it's still red on the day. All right, guys. All right, so Johnson & Johnson announces a strategic agreement. Oracle trying to go green on the day. NVIDIA back up. Apple's still red, but trying. Where's Apple's previous close? Let's take a look. All right, so we're still creeping up. We're at 335s in the NASDAQ. Now, you got to see the high of the day is up here, so we're getting pretty close to the high of the day. The high of the day is technically at 47, but just under 350. So I'm going to put it at 350 as the level, but 47 is technically the high of the day. Will Powell be bullish or bearish? Let me know in chat right now. Bitcoin ripping. Yeah, Bitcoin up to almost 120 today, right? Yeah, it's at 119.5. NVIDIA is still red, though, which is interesting. Google is very green on the day, and Google's been one of the reasons for this big run-up. If you look at GOOG, Google's one of the reasons. We did a poll this morning asking people, are you bullish or bearish? 55% are bullish, 45% are bearish. All right, so Treasury Secretary Bessent on Powell says term ends in May. He should see through if he wants. Exactly, right? Like, again, did you hear what Bessent just said? Bessent said Powell's term ends in May. He should see through it if he wants. He said U.S. national security will not be compromised. I see no reason for Powell to step down now. So, yeah, I don't think Powell's going to step down. And I think a lot of people are arguing, like, if the Fed is independent, he shouldn't step down. I think it sets a bad precedent. But I also think you can probably argue a rate cut, especially in September. I don't know about in July. I think you probably argue one in July, too. But here, yeah, look at Google up pretty big. Gold fighting back. Previous closing price is 34.10s. Gold had a big day yesterday too, hit 34.16s. Remember, the all-time highs on gold are 35.05 an ounce or so. So we're getting pretty close. Fed independence does not mean the Fed can be political to their whims. In what way is the Fed being political? From what I see on the Fed, the Fed doesn't ever comment on politics, almost ever. Like anytime Powell's been asked a lot of the time about political things, right? He almost always says, I'm not going to answer. So, I mean, I get it. People are going to say, well, you could argue a cut, but I don't think it's super obvious either. Like, we don't have weak economics to justify a cut in a super obvious way right now. And so we're somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's super obvious we should cut. I don't think it's super obvious we shouldn't cut either. I think we're somewhere in the middle, and I think acting like we're super one-sided, if we were super one-sided towards a cut, and again, I'm very open to talking about this. If you think I'm wrong, let me hear it, explain why, right? But if it's super obvious to cut, where's the super weak labor market, right? Where is it? Payroll's higher than expected. They're expecting 2.3% for GDP for quarter two. You know what I mean? The economy's not doing like horrible enough to say, like, to be incredibly clear that, hey, we need to cut right now. I think you could probably argue one based off of a couple things, but I don't think it's incredibly obvious. And so outside of that, I don't know how Powell would be being political. And again, I'm open to hear it. It's not that I'm defending Powell. I'm just saying, I don't think any president forcing a FOMC chairman out is a good thing. I think we need to maintain the Fed's independence. But I think you could also maybe argue a cut, but I don't think it's super obvious. Yeah, if we stop QT, fine, balance, right? Like, again, quantitative tightening is a restrictive monetary policy. And so if you want to loosen things up a little bit in terms of monetary policy in QT, and then we cut in September, right? Or cut 25 basis points and continue QT. Either way, it's balanced. I'm okay with that. I've been saying that for months. For multiple Fed meetings, I've been saying I'm okay with that aspect of it, like a balanced, either ending QT and not cutting rates or continuing QT and cutting rates. Either one of those things is balanced. I'm okay with that as well. And it's all love here. Again, I'm not really super political on either side. So it's not like I'm against you. You might think I am just based off of what I'm saying. I'm giving you the honest argument that Powell's going to make anyway, which is that labor market's not really showing that deep weakness that we need to justify rate cuts. Although the whole point of rate cuts, just to give you guys the other end of it, the whole point of rate cuts is to avoid the economic weakness. And so by the time we see the economic weakness, it's already too late in a lot of people's minds. And so I think, to be honest, what I think is, as long as we cut in September, fine. If we don't cut in September and then we start seeing weak economics, that's a different thing. And then I might be a little bit more critical. But as for now, I'm okay with it. Anyways, we got 20 minutes before Powell speaks. Yeah, housing's certainly stagnant. I agree with you there. If the market is strong, we shouldn't cut. If we cut too early, it paints us in the quarter. I kind of agree. Yeah, I mean, I know open door stock. Again, for me, it's too kind of risky. Like, I'm not really interested in attacking open. I think the business idea is good, but I think as well as, like, if Zillow tried to get involved with something like this and failed, and Zillow's one of the largest real estate companies in the world, I'm a little skeptical about the future business aspects of OPEN, but it's definitely on a big momentum run. It's just not really my style of trade. I hope you make money with it, though. But it's just not really my style. All right, guys, we got 20 minutes. No, I don't think Powell's going to resign today. Not really, no. Hey, what's up, Faye? It's strong, but yeah, I mean, the argument on the other side of that, though, is that the Fed, and again, to a certain extent, you have to understand like the history of monetary policy over the last 5 years, right? Which is that 2020, we did a lot of economic stimulus to try to save us from all the craziness. We did QE, we printed money, we sent out checks. We did all this economic stimulus. Supply chain had issues, and so by 2022, because of like that super low interest rate environment, inflation spiked up to almost 10%. And then the Fed has to try to play catch up with it, and they pivot to a restrictive policy to try to push down inflation. And the argument is you raise interest rates, you restrict liquidity, businesses can expand less, and it kind of slows everything down a little bit to try to combat inflation. And we basically were restrictive, I would argue, up until last year. Late last year, September of last year, when we finally started cutting. We cut a full percentage point from September to December of last year. 100 basis points. And then we paused since then, right? But, inflation doesn't go down, it slows down. And so we had prices spike 3, 4, 5x in a lot of places. And, again, inflation was really rampant for years. And so with that, inflation aspect, I think the Fed has to be incredibly careful not to make inflation get worse. And I think that's going to be their argument against rate cuts. It's like they don't want to exacerbate the inflation, especially after a high inflation period of the economics in the U.S. We've had prices rise already. They're not going to go back down. The best we can do is try to slow inflation down for a few years and try to catch up a little bit, if that makes sense. And I think that's probably the Fed's opinion as well. And I fear inflation. As a self-employed individual, I fear inflation 100%. I do not like inflation. I do not want to see inflation rise. But I'm somewhere in the middle right now. I don't think it's super obvious, and I think we could probably argue a rate cut, and real estate market struggles, and so I'm somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I'm not messing with OPE, and it's too risky. I don't really trade penny stocks. It's kind of more of a gamble, and I'm just not really interested in it. But some people can make money doing it. I'm just not super interested. All right, guys, we got 15 minutes. Yeah, May 26, 2026, I think hopefully they let him finish. All right, guys. Yeah, we got about 13 minutes left. The U.S. high-grade primary market is expecting around 4 borrowers to move forward and sell U.S. investment-grade debt after Monday's $15 billion issuance day, according to Bloomberg. All right, guys, we got Jerome Powell coming in very soon here. Sam, you're number one right now, brother. Looking at our poll, 58% are bullish, 42% are bearish. Top fans now include Sam, Ryan, Pawn, Louie, Fender, and more. I'm not going to go through the list, but I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Yeah, there's no way I'm messing with open right now. It's just too crazy, you know. Yeah, y'all just be careful. All right, we're here. We're waiting. Again, Jerome Powell, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to pull multiple streams up. Make sure I get the most real-time, up-to-date one. We'll keep this one up for now, but there's multiple. It's probably... We'll watch the NASDAQ, see what this does. Stick around. We'll put maybe like what, the SPY up here. Yeah, I think that's fair. We'll move this back. See what the SPY does. Hold on, let me... Yeah, Microsoft calls for today. Stop out. Hey, thank you, my guy Rusty, with the $5 donation, brother. I appreciate it. Shout out to Rusty. Thanks so much. Yeah, I don't know if Open's a pump and dump. I really don't. I like the concept of the business, right? So what Open Door is, OPEN. Open Door is kind of like a... It's kind of like a real estate Carvana. Is what it is, which I think there's a market for, right? But the only question I have is, like, if Zillow tried and failed, why are Open Door going to succeed? You know, and sometimes when businesses are trying to succeed at this new idea, they take on a bunch of leverage and risk. And so that is my fear here with stuff like OPEN, is like, what's the risk for something like this? You know what I mean? Like, what's the risk? Because... And I think with the stock moving, that has nothing to do with fundamentals with OPEN. I think if you look at, like... I mean, if you look at their margins... The margins are not good. They're still losing money, although it's getting better. But their last quarter, they lost 12 cents a share, 16 cents, 11 cents, 13 cents. So, you know, they've lost money. They've only had two profitable quarters. They've only had two profitable quarters ever. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little nervous about them, but hey. I'm going to pivot this up a little bit. Yeah, the music's muted. I'll unmute the music while we wait. We got 8 minutes left. Yeah, I've heard of it, Rusty. Gold is launching. Any earnings report you're looking at? Not really this morning or this afternoon. I mean, we had some stuff, but the big ones are tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, we got Google and Tesla earnings. So those are pretty big. The thing I hate about Tesla is that Its earnings calls are already always freaking late. There's Q2. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys, we got 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes left before Powell speaks. We'll see what he says. Hit the like button. We're going to cover it fully live. You'll be able to hear everything. And I pride myself on being the loudest. So we are going to, and we're going to be one of the most real time. So we'll see what he says. Let me switch headphones. There we go. All right, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're waiting. Yeah, Tesla earnings, Google earnings tomorrow. Google's been running up into their earnings call. All right, guys, we're here. We're waiting. Again, this is going to be at the Integrated Review of Capital Framework for Large Banks Conference, July 22nd today, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, in about 6 minutes exactly. Remember, put it in 2x speed, hit the live button next to the play button, make sure you're fully caught up on the stream. Again, 2x speed, hit the live button next to the play button, make sure you're fully caught up and ready. This is a good song leading into Powell. It's like Lord of the Rings. All right, guys, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Again, hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you're caught up. Is Powell already speaking? No, I have it in 2 different meetings, and he is not. I mean, let me make sure, but I'm pretty sure he's not. Nope. I'm going to just keep the music for now. But yeah, this is live. Nothing yet. There we go. Powell speaks at 8:30. Yeah, 3.5 minutes until Powell speaks. I don't see Powell speaking it yet. Yeah, people keep saying he's speaking, but he's not. I mean, look, here's the actual Fed speech. Live 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. That's in 4 minutes. So... yeah, I could hit live here. We're live. I also could check like a lot of different sources, and they're not live yet. All right, guys. Very soon. Yep. Yeah, we're waiting to hear you chat. We got 3 minutes exactly. Hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you're fully caught up. Put it in 2x speed. Again, we got multiple sources. We're going to play it as soon as it's live. And we'll also find the most up-to-date one. We'll also make sure the volume is loud enough for you to hear it. So... Powell said he would cut rates. No, he didn't. Yeah, we're going to be playing Powell's speech live, as it says in the big yellow letters, live on stream. We got a minute and a half left or so. Lockheed Martin, due to cuts in military. Hope $3 billion Fed, Reno. Yeah. All right, we got 1,500 people here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We still got 2 minutes. NASDAQ is pumping up ahead of Powell. We'll see what Powell says. Man, you work hard. I know, bro. Listen, I'm here, you know. 2 minutes, chat. All right, guys, we're at 3:33. Yeah, I'll tell you this. If Powell was speaking, we'd already have stuff he was saying out. All right, so Commerce Secretary Lutnick posts another win for American manufacturing, according to AZN. 50 billion pledge to expand U.S. manufacturing and R&D shows our tariff strategy at work, end quote. I'm going to turn the music off here, at least pause the music for now. And then we're going to mute the music, and then we're going to play this. Make sure we are live. All right, we got less than a minute here, chat. Timer's a little bit early. Let's get this off the screen. We're just waiting for it to start here. Waiting for them to start. We got 30 seconds until they're scheduled to start. Yeah, I'm turning the volume up. Make sure you guys can hear it well. Once it starts, just let me know if you could hear it or not. NASDAQ is pumping up right now. Getting close to the high of the last few days, which might be the all-time high too. I have to go check. All right, all right, we're waiting for them to start this thing. Okay, this one's faster, so I'm going to put this one up a little bit more. It's a little bit bigger too. All right, waiting for them to start here. Nothing yet. They're a little late. So you see we are live. Waiting for them to start. Nothing yet. Yeah, we're waiting for them to start, chat. You can see we're live. Neither one of them. Yeah, it's not about refreshing. We're already here. I have 2 different sources. I'm also looking at everybody else's page, and none of them are started either. It looks like they're just late. Yeah, we're waiting here, guys. This is their own source. Bear with me. Let's see if they start this thing now. The song just ended. I'm waiting. Nope, they got another song playing. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, all I can really do is go with these. We're here. We're watching. I've got multiple sources up. They just haven't started it yet. What color will his tie be? I don't know. They're late, though. Come on, pal. Yeah, everybody's here waiting to stream it, but they're just late. You see we're live. I'm on 2 different sources live. Nothing yet. We do have some quotes coming out. We need large banks to be free to compete with one another with non-banks and with banks in other jurisdictions. Okay, so this is what happened. They published his quotes from it. So they published his quotes from it. They just haven't started it yet. So this must be pre. He said, "Good morning and welcome to the Federal Reserve. I am pleased, though not surprised, to see such great interest in the topic of today's conference, the integrated review of the capital framework for large banks. I want to thank Vice Chairman Supervision Bowman for having the great idea of holding this event at the outset of her term. I would like to thank the Fed staff for their tireless work in putting the conference together. Today we will hear great perspectives of industry veterans, academics, and current and former policymakers who are well versed in the operations of large banks and the main pillars of the capital framework. A great benefit of this conference is the chance to consider all elements of the capital framework in concert rather than look at each in isolation. We need to ensure that all the different pieces of capital framework work together effectively. Doing so will help maintain a safe, sound, and efficient banking system for the benefit of the people we serve. The U.S. Bank Capital Framework includes risk-based capital requirements, leverage requirements, the surcharge for the largest and most complex banks, and the stress test. We will discuss the status of each of these elements and the road ahead in a comprehensive manner. As this audience will know, we have proposals of outstanding or in the works across all 4 areas. Our regulatory capital framework and all banking rules are implemented through supervision, an area where Vice Chair Supervision Bowman brings deep experience as a former banker and state supervisor. As she notes, we need to make sure that our supervisory practices focus on the critical areas that determine safety and soundness. We need our large banks to be well capitalized to manage their risks well. We need large banks to be free to compete with one another with non-bank financial firms and with banks in other jurisdictions to provide capital and support economic growth. The Fed is a dynamic institution. We are open to hearing new ideas and feedback on how to improve the capital framework for large banks, and I look forward to hearing from today's participants. Thank you again for joining us," end quote. Again, they must have published his like what he was going to say, but they haven't started it yet. I'm looking at multiple different sources. They still haven't started it yet. And so again, you can look at this one. You can look at this one. We are live. Still nothing here. So yeah, they're just slow to publish this. And again, we'll see what happens, but it is not live. You can look everywhere. Any other source, it's not live, right? But they published, what I'm looking at is they published his, what he said. They published his remarks, is the easiest way to put it. Yeah, I'm looking at like 5 different sources. Nothing. Same music playing in all of them. Even if you look online, right? CNBC, nothing yet. Nothing. They haven't said anything. Same old music. everywhere. Look at the Federal Reserve. Nothing. So they literally just haven't published it, but they published his speech. And maybe he's going to say other stuff. He might be moderating it, I think. But yeah, what are they doing, though? I don't know if they're just messing it up. But yeah. Could be pre-written statement. Money control is repeating something that's been going on, Lynette. Money control has been recasting an old stream from the ECB in Portugal since like the 1st or the 2nd of this month. It's almost certainly not what Powell is speaking right now. If you look at any other major source that would have this, it's not that. I'm not sure. So I think money control is kind of like tricking people into thinking Powell's always speaking and getting views. But I would assume a lot of money control is bots. And so I wouldn't trust that at all. Again, you could look at every other source. Money control has been recasting the ECB speech from Portugal on the 1st to get viewers is what they're doing. I've seen that. So I think most of the people saying it started are just watching Money Control, which is not the speech, I promise. Yeah, I'm waiting for them to start, but they haven't started. It's kind of boring now. I'm looking at like the Feds. I don't know why they're starting so late here. We're now 10 minutes later. Again, trust me, I'm looking at every other live section, and it hasn't started yet. I'm pretty sure Money, whatever, the YouTube channel is trying to manipulate people into following them and thinking that Powell's speaking when they're really just recasting an old speech that happened a month ago. That's the NASDAQ 100. I don't think Powell's going to get fired personally at all. I really genuinely don't think Powell's going to get fired at all. I think we're so close to the end of his term. Even something that Bassett, who's usually on the president's side, said this morning is that he would let Powell finish his term if he wanted to, right? And I don't think it's good if Powell gets pressure to resign either. So, yeah. I'm sure we're going to hear too late, though, or something like that. All right, guys. Okay, here we go, finally. Here we go. Okay, 5 minutes. Come on now, man. Y'all are late. Okay, so they just came out and they said in 5 minutes they're going to get started with Chair Powell. In 5 minutes. This is the most real-time speech. But in 5 minutes, they said they're going to get started with Powell. They put the music back on, so I'm going to mute it. Oh, look, there he is. Right. I think that's Powell right there. Finally, bro. I was wondering when they were going to get started here. All right, we're here. Sheesh, bro. Took you guys long enough, man. Come on now. What's up, chat? Again, they got their music playing. I'm going to mute the music. Yeah, he's late. I'm sure we're going to hear he's late a lot today. A lot. NVIDIA up to 170. And again, we talked about his initial opening statement that they've already published, right? And so a lot of the times, if it's a pre-written statement, they will publish it. Okay? And so this is something, while we wait for this to start, I can tell you what, it looks like he's going to be moderating. But in terms of the pre-written statement here, I will post, and this is what the statement says. Good morning and welcome to the Federal Reserve Board. I am pleased, though not surprised, to see such great interest in the topic of today's conference, the integrated review of the capital framework for large banks. I'm going to read this quickly because I'm one of the top 3 readers in the world right now, and I'm trying to get it done before the 5 minutes is up. I am pleased, though not surprised, to see such great interest in the topic of today's conference, the integrated review of the capital framework for large banks. I want to thank Vice Chair for Supervision Bowman for having the great idea of holding this event at the outset of her term. I'd also like to thank the Fed staff for their tireless work in putting in the conference together. Today, we will hear the perspectives of industry veterans, academics, and current and former policymakers who are all well-versed in the operation of large banks and the main pillars of the capital framework. A great benefit of this conference is the chance to consider all elements of the capital framework in concert rather than look at each in isolation. We need to ensure that all different pieces of the capital framework work together effectively. Doing so will help maintain a safe and sound and efficient banking system for the benefit of the people we serve. The U.S. Bank Capital Framework includes risk-based capital requirements, leverage requirements, and the surcharge for the largest and most complex banks, and the stress tests. We will discuss the status of each of those elements in the road ahead in a comprehensive manner. As the audience will know, we have proposals outstanding or in the works across all 4 areas in our regulatory and capital framework, and all banking rules are implemented through supervision, an area where Vice Chair Bowman brings deep experience as a former banker and state supervisor. As she noted, we need to make sure our supervisory practices focus on the critical areas that determine safety and soundness. We need our large banks to be well capitalized and to maintain and to manage their risks well, and we need large banks to be free to compete with one another, with non-bank financial firms, and with banks in other jurisdictions to provide capital and support economic growth. The Fed is a dynamic institution. We are open to hearing new ideas and feedback on how to improve the capital frameworks for large banks, and I look forward to hearing from today's participants. Thank you again for joining us today. So that is most likely what Powell is going to say. I can't tell if this is Powell right here. I don't think it is. His the side of his face doesn't really look like Powell, but you're welcome. Top 3 reader of all time ever in the world right now. Look, we cover all the big market news. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We trade live at the open out every day. And anytime Powell speaks, we stream it live. We cover all the breaking news. We cover all the market news, all the earnings, all the economic reports. Later this week, we got jobless claims. Next week, we got GDP, unemployment, non-farm payrolls, FOMC rate decision, and more. And we're going to stream all of that stuff live as we're doing this Jerome Powell speech. Is that Powell right there? It kind of looks like the back of him, actually. All right, NASDAQ coming back down a little bit. He was supposed to speak at 8:30, but now it is now 8:45, and my guy hasn't come out here yet. Top 1? Maybe. Yeah. Is that him? Who's this dude? Yeah, this stream is definitely the most up-to-date stream we have. The other one's late. That guy with the long hair just walked by. Teach me how to read like that. You know, you just gotta... Listen, you just gotta have the brain power for it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm the top 3 smartest guy ever, but, you know. I don't know who he is. Long hair, you know, Santa Claus's cousin. All right, come on, guys. Y'all said 5 minutes 5 minutes ago. Yeah, coffee intake. I'm sure that helps. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Get started. Good morning to everyone, and welcome to the Federal Reserve Board. I'm very pleased, though not surprised. I'm here to deliver the interest in the topic of today's conference, the integrated review of the capital framework for large banks. And I want to thank Vice Chair for Supervision Bowman for having the great idea of holding this event at the outset of her term. I'd also like to thank Fed staff for their tireless work in putting the conference together. So today, we'll hear the perspectives of industry veterans, academics, and current and former policymakers who who are all well-versed in the operations of large banks and the main pillars of the capital framework. A great benefit of this conference is the chance to consider all elements of the capital framework in concert, rather than look at each in isolation. We need to ensure that all the different pieces of the capital framework work together effectively. Doing so will help maintain a safe, sound, and efficient banking system for the benefit of the people we serve. The U.S. bank capital framework includes risk-based capital requirements, leverage requirements, the surcharge for the largest and most complex banks, and the stress tests. We will discuss the status of each of those elements and the road ahead in a comprehensive manner today. As this audience will know well, we have proposals outstanding or in the works across all four areas. Our regulatory capital framework and all banking rules are implemented through supervision, an area where Vice Chair for Supervision Bowman brings deep experience as a former banker and state supervisor. As she has noted, we need to make sure that our supervisory practices focus on the critical areas that determine safety and soundness. We need our large banks to be well capitalized and to manage their key risks well. And we need large banks to be free to compete with one another, with non-bank financial institutions and with banks in other jurisdictions to provide capital and support economic growth. The Fed is a dynamic institution. We're open to hearing new ideas and feedback on how to improve the capital framework for large banks, and I look forward to hearing from today's participants. Thanks again to all of you for joining us today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Chair Powell. Welcome, everyone. My name is Amal Vaidya. I'm sure I've been inundating your email box with Capital Conference 2025 emails for registration and logistics. I will go over a couple of quick housekeeping things, and we will start the next panel at 9 a.m. As you know, this is a secure building, so our colleagues in law enforcement do ask that you keep your badges on you at all times. If you need to step out for a moment, anyone who you see that does not have a badge on is Federal Reserve staff. They are part of our events team supporting this great event. They're happy to escort you to a coat room or step out to make a phone call. On that point, we do ask that you silence or put your cell phones.
All right, so I think that's basically it for Powell. I think that's all he was going to say. We'll see. Like, this is supposed to start again at 9 a.m. and so we'll keep it up in the background and see what happens there, and kind of get back to you guys. But yeah, it looks like that's it for now. They're gonna take a break, resume at 9 o'clock. We'll come back to it then to see if they say anything useful. But for now, I think that's it. I told you guys what this would be anyway, though. So like I told you guys, yeah. I told you guys what this would be anyway, so I mean, we'll see what happens now. And let's start trading here. I'm going to put some music up. But yeah, that's it, I think. We'll see what happens at 9. But, yep. Let me make sure we got the right title here back. But yeah, I didn't really say anything. The Fed's in a blackout period right now anyway, to be completely honest. And so regarding that, we don't really know what the Fed's going to say anyway. So I don't think they're even allowed to mention monetary policy. So, yeah. Let me, all right, so let's get some music rolling here. Oh, sorry, the music might be a little bit loud. Let me turn this down now. Yeah, I mean, I've never seen you before, Chief, so good day to you, sir. I would say that was a speech by Powell. I mean, I told people before what the speech said before he even spoke, and I told people he might not mention. If you look at my posts here, I even told people he might not mention monetary policy. I'm pretty open about it. I'm not the only one that streamed it. CNBC streamed it. Everybody streamed it. And so if you're mad at me for streaming a Jerome Powell speech, cry about it, bro. You know, you'll be okay. It's all love, but cry about it. Anyways, let's see if we can take some trades. NASDAQ's pushing closer to this high of the day. The high of the day level is just under 23,350. Yeah. W? Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I think it's a W too. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I can't control what Powell says. All I'm doing is streaming his speeches. We stream every time he speaks. And so I don't know what he's going to talk about. Look at NVIDIA though here. Again, we're going to trade the opening bell live. So stick around. Hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. We're going to trade the opening bell live as it happens. We got NVIDIA trying to go green on the day. Look at this 171 level. We had this level on our chart prior to this, and look at that rejection right here at 171. Yeah, I don't think he's going to resign anyway. It was literally Powell speaking. Right. That's what we said it would be. You know? And I appreciate the love. Appreciate you guys joining me here. You know, we're competitive with like CNBC in terms of Jerome Powell speeches. So shout out to you guys. Thanks so much. I appreciate the love. Are you guys red or green today? Let me know. We're going to trade the opening bell live. How is the dollar index and gold up? Aren't they inversely proportional? Sometimes, most of the time, I would say. But there's certain nuances in markets where gold has been mostly running with the market, to be honest. So gold's been pushing up as the NASDAQ, S&P, you know, Dow push up as well. So it's definitely been a different nuance than we're used to. Most people say green so far. Hey, all good, Terry. Appreciate the love. Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to join them back at 9 o'clock. We'll see if they say anything. I don't know if Powell is one of the discussion, like, moderators or one of the people that's speaking. But, again, we'll come back to it at 9 o'clock. It's supposed to take a break until 9, which was supposed to be like a 30-minute break. But instead, 9 o'clock's in 5 minutes. So we'll pivot back to it. We'll see what happens then. But he came out of his trade. I know, man. Listen. Again, I can't control what you do. Not an investment professional. I already put this disclaimer up once already. Don't copy me. I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Understand all this stuff on screen chat. Not an investment professional. Okay. That's all I'm saying. Hey, I wake up every morning before work and watch you. Cheers. Hey, thank you, Lumberjack. I appreciate you. Thank you, sir. He was losing on the trade and blamed John. Yeah, that's probably true. Or he missed out on some runs and blamed me somehow just because I streamed Powell. One thing you know pretty quickly is that people get emotional. They blame you. If they take a bunch of dumb trades, they blame you for it. If they miss out on a bunch of dumb trades, they blame you for it. You know. If they lose their number 3 spot in the top 3 greatest trader ever list, they blame you for it. You know. I guess that's it. I don't know. We also have, Powell speaks again in August. I mean, he speaks next Wednesday for the FOMC meeting, but he speaks again in August for the Jackson Hole Symposium Conference, which is going to be a much more monetary policy-based speech. We're going to stream that live as we always do. Definitely top 3 in the world right now for sure. Powell speech, streamers. I don't look at the ES on hourly, but perfect head and shoulders. I blame you when it rains in Baton Rouge. You should. That's my fault. All right, guys. Should I buy the NASDAQ here? I'm looking at it. We'll see. Let me see. Should I buy the NASDAQ here? I think we're close enough to the high of the day where it might be more probable that we're going to break it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it looks more probable to happen here. I also kind of need a dip, though. We'll buy one micro contract here. We're close enough within this range. Rain is just the tears of wrong traders. Go Tigers, yes sir. That's right. Gold is stronger rally. Yeah, let's take a look at gold. Gold up to 34.17s here. Wow. Will gold break all-time highs this week? Let me know in chat. Do you think gold breaks all-time highs? Trading mutual funds? Yeah. Alright guys, Nvidia pushing up to 171s. I'm buying one micro contract. I'll buy more if we dip down to like 322. Max loss is going to be about 312 if I can stomach it. Gold's still breaking highs of the day. It's now at 34.18s. Not this week. Next week we got a whole bunch of stuff though, guys. Next week we have GDP data, PCE data. No. Yes. Wait. Yeah. Next week we have GDP data. PCE data, GDP data, non-farm payrolls, and unemployment all drop next week, 8:30. I hate it when they do this, though, dude. I genuinely hate it when they do this, bro. Like, they put all the data on one freaking day. Next week, we got GDP data, PCE data, ISM manufacturing, non-farm payrolls, unemployment data, Fed meeting. We literally have every single major economic report on the same freaking week. We got payrolls, unemployment, PCE, GDP, FOMC, earnings. Next week's crazy. It really is a crazy freaking week where we have so much stuff going on. It's a little uneasy. Is Powell speaking now? Let's see. That's not Powell. That's not Powell. Oh. Is that Powell? No, I don't think that is Powell. None of these guys are Powell. That's not Powell. I don't know who that is. That's Powell's look-alike. That's not Powell. That definitely isn't Powell. But definitely not Powell speaking. That's Powell's clone right there, but it's not Powell, for sure. I mean, we can listen to it if you guys want.
Is the implications for intermediation in the U.S. Treasury market. So what the plan for this panel is that I'm going to ask some questions to the panelists, who I'm going to introduce in a moment, that we have teed up in advance, but in order to keep it live.
So here's the thing, though, guys, regarding Powell and the FOMC. We're in a blackout period, meaning Powell's not allowed to comment on monetary policy right now. Jeremiah Powell? Harry Powell? Sorry, dad joke. He's got glasses on. He looks like Harry Potter. I couldn't finish it, though. You know, bad finish. I'm sorry. I tried. All right, guys. My NASDAQ trade's doing okay, though. Again, I think we're getting close to this high of the day level. What do you mean monetary policy? Powell's not allowed to talk about rate decisions, inflation, current economic landscape. Bro. Okay. Dude, I'm gonna put you in timeout, Harry, because it seems like you're just trying to say random stuff. Powell is not speaking right now, bro. Again, here's the thing. None of these guys are Powell. That's not Powell. Powell's not even on this panel. Look.
At Harvard Kennedy School and director of the Committee on Capital Markets.
It sounds like Powell, but it's not.
And finally, to
this is
the
Powell's.
far left is Ben Wiener, partner in Sullivan & Cromwell's Financial Services and Capital Markets Groups. Ben advises banking organizations on regulatory capital.
He says, say something about my name.
Testing.
He says.
Resolution planning.
But yeah, this is not Powell.
Transactions.
Again, y'all don't want to listen to this. This is integrated review of capital framework for large banks. While I cover what Powell says, this is all, I mean, it's just not going to move markets. And so. Because we're in the Fed blackout period. Why isn't he allowed to talk about monetary policy? Because in the Fed blackout period. Yeah, we streamed Powell's speech live. Now Powell's done speaking. Chat. Hey, thank you, BT. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Again, gold pumping up 34.20s right now. 34.20s. Powell's already spoke. Powell already did his speech. We read it and we streamed it. And now it's over. I'm going to buy a little bit more here, actually. We have a cheap entry, I think, to get in a little bit more. See if we move up there. I think we're going to test the high of the day. It might take us a little second to pull back, but we're going to take a small amount. Again, Powell is not in this meeting. Do you guys see Powell anywhere? No. They all kind of look like Powell in different ways, but they're not Powell. Gold reaching an all-time high. Here, a Top Step plug. Hey, if you haven't already, try Top Step. No PDT in futures. If you want to day trade, do not risk your own money. Instead, try Top Step. $50 a month for the base one. If you pass it, if you're good enough to pass it, you got to make $3K without losing $2K following their rules. If you're good enough to pass it, they fund you $50K. You get to keep your first $10K in profit afterwards and then 90%. Very similar to funding your own account, but your risk is $50. So it's limited risk, similar reward to funding your own account. It's the best of both worlds. They pay out hundreds of millions, fund thousands. A beautiful way to learn how to day trade in a structured environment with some risk, but not the full risk of 10, 20, 30 grand losing huge sums of money like a lot of new day traders end up doing. It just doesn't make any sense to. And so again, if you want to check it out, I'll put the link up. Great way to help support the channel. I appreciate the love. Not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose money. Always make your own assessment. Trade smart. I can't guarantee anything. I'll pin it to the top of the chat if you want to check it out. Always do your own DD. Trade responsibly. I can't guarantee anything. You want to confirm it all with them. All that other good stuff. Yeah, there's the link right there. I'll pin it to the top of the chat. Big John X, the plug. Look at this trade. Let's take half off here, and we're going to let the rest ride. I've been trying to take longer term trades. You guys should be proud of me here. This is a long term trade for me. There we go. Let's get that high of the day up there here. Let's climb. We're attacking the range up to that high of the day. I'm going to cut it right here. That's a pretty long term trade for me. I stayed in that one, what, like 5 to 10 minutes. That's a pretty long trade for me. I'll take it. Green is good. Gold's gone wild. Yeah, gold has gone wild. Gold's up to 34.22. Did they add like a hawk sound to that song at the end? Hold on. Listen to this. All right. Get banned, Phoenix. Scammer. Looks like I got out almost at the top, too. Look at that. Gold's still pumping up. Look at gold on the bottom right here. It's making moves. Do we have anything else going on tomorrow? So, existing hope sales. We have Michelle Bowman moderating a panel at a banking conference starting at noon today. I don't see her in this list. Wednesday, we got existing home sales coming out at 10 a.m. Thursday, jobless claims. Friday, durable goods. Bro, honestly, I'm still shocked at the scale of next week. Next week, we got JOLTS job openings, consumer confidence data, Case-Shiller house price index, ADP non-farm employment change, GDP data, pending home sales, the FOMC rate decision, jobless claims, PCE inflation data, Chicago PMI, non-farm payrolls, unemployment, ISM manufacturing data, Michigan consumer sentiment data, and more. Like, next week's ridiculous. I hate it when they do this, though, because generally I like it more spread out so we can gauge it and read it better. Again, and that's not even including the FOMC decision along with all the earnings next week. Next week's crazy busy for some reason. Yeah, tomorrow we got Tesla and Google earnings for sure. Looks like I got out almost at the top of this, which is nice. That's cool. Right, exactly, MC. That's exactly right. Spread out helps to cover more stuff for sure, 100%. But it's earnings season, so I mean, we're going to have stuff to cover anyway right now. But I would much rather them spread it out week to week instead of having it all 1 week. Because then we got a bunch of slow weeks sometimes. And so I'm pretty sure, though, we got a bunch of earnings happening. I mean, the week of August isn't slow either, though. Like we got ISM services at 10 o'clock, or ISM services. Non-farm productivity. It's kind of a slow week. But then the next week will be CPI or something like that, I think. All right, so we got this dip, but we're pretty close to the highs of the day here, so I do kind of want to buy this up. Yeah, so we got CPI inflation data on August 12th. I kind of want to buy this dip, but look at gold surge. I was wondering how you add another combine account to your top set profile. You go buy it. Yeah. In general, most day traders lose. And then you always got somebody say, nah, bro. My uncle's brother's cousin won one time. And it's like, well, yeah. Generally, most day traders lose. Sometimes they win, though. Doesn't mean every instance wins. Will Powell come in again? I don't know. I don't see anything. I have a new system. I do the exact opposite of what John does. Oh, that's cool. I mean, it might work. Might be the top 3 greatest day trading strategy ever. Yeah, but I don't know, man. People holding on to everything Buffett says. Listen, Buffett is 94 years old or whatever it is. He might be 96. I have to go back and check. My grandmother recently passed, and she was 96. Okay? And I love her. I loved her. But towards the end, she didn't really understand what was going on. All right? And so people acting like over the past 10 years, Buffett had any influence in any decision-making ability in markets. Berkshire Hathaway, a multi-billion dollar company. You know, they're not letting 90-year-old Buffett make decisions. They're just not. You know, even if they pretend they are because they're trying to avoid some brash market reaction, they were never letting Buffett over the last 5, 6, 7 years make any type of significant decisions. And people acting like now that Buffett is gone and retired, that somehow Burke is going to turn and be whatever. Like, listen, Buffett hasn't been making decisions anyway. I guarantee you he hasn't. And so you got to think about it objectively here. Yeah, I should have bought this dip. I was really thinking about it, but it's all right. Former Fed Chair Janet Yellen has concerns about recent Bitcoin and crypto legislation. All right, so let's take a look at yields. I don't think I've looked at them this morning. 10-year Treasury yields. As of this morning, they're down a little bit to 4.36%. Here's 10-year Treasury yields. Showing a lower interest rate sentiment here. Buffett was interviewed many times in the last few years. Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, maybe Buffett's making decisions. I doubt the leaders of Berkshire Hathaway are going to let Buffett make any type of significant major decisions at 90-something years old. Maybe look, I could always be wrong here. I would say if there's an argument against me being right in this situation regarding Warren Buffett, I would say he's a billionaire, and so he probably has better medical access towards being more highly functioning than I would say versus average at his age, if that makes sense, right? Like, that might mean I'm not necessarily true. I still don't think Burke, being a multi-billion dollar company, is going to let Buffett make any type of big game-changing decisions for Berkshire Hathaway. But I could be wrong. You know, I think it's a risk, and I think when you're a company that big, you don't like to take big risks. Let's look up the last Burke speech. Hold on. Okay.
From Melrose, Massachusetts. Thank you for the time today. As a young person interested in investing like myself, I would love to hear your
All right, so here's a
insights,
speech
Mr.
that
Buffett.
he did at the
What were
Berkshire
some
Hathaway
pivotal
annual
lessons
meeting.
you learned early in your career, and what advice do you have for young investors who are looking to develop their investment philosophy? Thank you.
This is an old speech.
Those are good questions. I wish I thought of them myself earlier in my life. Who you associate with is just enormously important, and don't expect that.
I mean, I agree with him.
Decision right on that. I mean, but you are going to go into. You're going to have your life progress in the general direction of the people that you work with, that you admire, that become your friends. I mentioned a few fellows that have died in the last couple of years. Well, all of those people were people
All right, we got 13 minutes into the open.
that, if we were working together on something 1/10,000th
Okay.
the size of Berkshire.
All right, that's all I really need to hear. Look, again, while he seems more put together at 94, I'm trying to be nice here. I don't know if they're letting him make decisions. I just don't. Maybe they are. I don't know. Again, this is something where I genuinely don't know. And this was 2 months ago, so. For that age, it's great. No, 100%. For that age, it's great. I still don't know if they're going to be letting him make big decisions. And this is, again, just to let people understand what I'm talking about here. This is in response to people saying that now that Warren Buffett has stepped down, that Berkshire Hathaway is going to take some big negative turn. That's under the assumption that Buffett has been making key decisions recently, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. But who knows? Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't think look, I'm not saying he's making final decisions and where entire company must go, but he still might have influence, and decision making might still be in his cards. Well, yeah, I mean, that's probably true. But I think his decision making probably has more an influence. Yeah, so Buffett's going to remain as chairman. Greg Abel is going to become CEO at the end of this year. Right, 100%, Pawn. Exactly, brother. And I'm sure, I wish Buffett the best. He seems like a good dude, but yeah, I don't know if he's running Burke legitimately. Yeah, gold up to, again, the all-time highs on gold are right here, 35.05 or something like that, like right here. So here's the lifetime high on gold, 35.05 an ounce or so, give or take right here. So that's how far gold is from all-time highs. Not that far. All right, guys, we got 10 minutes left. I appreciate it, Sam. Have a good day. All right, so the EU Trade Commissioner, Sef Chofik, says this week's EU-China summit is an opportunity to discuss critical trade and investment issues. We must work towards a more balanced partnership, end quote. All right, 10 minutes into the opening bell. The Powell speech has already happened. Yeah, so the Powell speech has already happened. Yeah, next week's crazy. Nasdaq's close to the highs of the day, though, so I mean, if I have a bias into the open, I guess it's bullish, although we are up a lot over the last few days. But we're so close to the highs of the day here at 34 or 23,350 that I would assume that we could test. Not saying we will, but we could, if that makes sense. We'll see. I went to watch it live. Yeah, I mean, it was live at about 8:45, 8:50, I would say, is when Powell started speaking. You know, it didn't last long. It only, again, we told people the remarks from it prior to it coming out. Copper prices have settled into a tight range. So lawmakers recently released crypto market structure discussion draft. All right, so we are dipping down some here. I might want to buy it. We're just too close to the opening bell. We're only about 6.5 minutes into the open, so I'm just gonna wait. The content of his speech was, "Good morning and welcome to the Fed. I'm pleased, though not surprised, to see such great interest." He didn't say anything about monetary policy. He basically said, to summarize it, that they're going to be talking about the integrated review of the capital framework. He thanked Bowman for putting it together. He said they're going to see perspectives of industry veterans, former policymakers, so forth and so on. Ensure that all the different pieces of the framework work effectively together. Maintain safe, efficient banking system for the benefit of the people we serve. We need our banks to be well capitalized and work together, essentially, and we need competition flowing environment for the banks. The Fed is a dynamic institution, open to hearing new ideas. That's essentially what he said. That's basically it. Paraphrasing it, but that's basically what he said. That's it. That's all he said. Google earnings are not at 4 p.m. today, Corey. Google earnings are tomorrow. Today, the only earnings we got at the closing bell are we got Enphase, Texas Energy, or Texas Instruments, SAP, Chubb, RRC, Matador, Baker Hughes, EQT, and more. But tomorrow is when we have Tesla and Google. And then we got like AT&T, Thermo Fisher in the morning tomorrow. Tesla, Google, IBM, ServiceNow, QuantumScape, T-Mobile, and more, or tomorrow evening. Yes, tomorrow. All right, so we're starting to creep up here. We're at 340s right now, 340s. Still pretty close to this high up here. Like I said, I would day trade this. We're just too close to the opening bell, but I think a move up to test the highs of the day, since we're in such a close range to the highs, makes sense, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. There's always variance, of course. Yeah. Yeah, give me a follow at Beginner Trades. We're pushing towards 4,000 followers. We're like less than 40 followers away from 4,000. So listen, we got over 1,000 people here. If y'all don't follow me at X, at Beginner Trades, give me a follow. I appreciate it. Gold's still pumping up this morning. About to break highs of the day again, potentially ahead of the opening bell in about 3.5 minutes. Do you have too many combines? I think you can only have a limited amount drop, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. All right, we're chopping sideways ahead of the opening bell. We got 2.5 minutes left. All right, guys, here we go. Opening bell, 2 minutes. All right, 2 minutes left. We're gonna have the MOO as well. All right, Nvidia's starting to creep up a little bit. Look at the NASDAQ push towards these highs here. Here's the NASDAQ making a push. We got about a minute left, a little bit over that. Yeah, we're starting to push up a little bit. Still sideways range, but we're starting to get up there to test the highs of the day potentially. Here's what I'm looking at. We got about 50 seconds left. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button as well, chat. The opening bell, the market open is happening. Again, I'm slightly bullish at the open, but who knows, man? Market might turn. No idea. So there's the opening bell. Look at us tap this level here. Look at that. All right, so there's the open. Look, we went up there, we tapped this level. Good level right there, though. Top 3 levelers in the world right now. So we broke highs of the day. That wasn't even the high of the day. That was slightly over it, but look at that. We literally just tapped exactly this level I had on the chart. Interesting. Nvidia pulling back down, AMD pulling back down a little bit. Tesla flat since the opening bell. We're watching that like Google, which has been strong, dipping down a little bit into the opening bell as well. Tesla dipping down a little bit as well. Apple dipping down a little bit as well. Kind of want to buy gold almost here, but this, although gold's kind of been following the market. I would assume gold might push up and break highs with the weakness that we're seeing. Yeah, gold is up there. Okay, so I just scalped a little bit on gold too. My thesis on gold worked. You can't really see it. The NASDAQ's fallen down with everything else quickly too. Apple's rebounding back up, but a lot of red showing up in markets. Nvidia turning down a little bit as well. I'm not going to mess with this a little bit too early. The only reason I bought gold was because I thought it was close enough to retest, and it did. We made a very small gain on it though. Yeah, I mean, I got out already. You can kind of see my trade here. Look, if you look at it, we made a very small amount on gold right here. You can see GC, gold, green. So we made money on it, but it wasn't a lot. It was like $20 or $30 scalp. It's too close to the opening bell for me to sit in anything. I think gold might push up with this weakness though, but you know, gold's kind of been moving in a positive correlation with the NASDAQ and the S&P. So I don't know what gold's going to do here. I think gold's strength could come in with weakness though. Yeah, I'm not talking about buying physical gold. I like physical gold, don't get me wrong. What's happened? Gold's just broke highs of the day. NASDAQ's still tumbling down. This is mostly driven by NVIDIA. NVIDIA's very weak. Look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA just broke lows of the day. Gold's still pushing up. Again, we're day trading on TopStep's funded account program right now, so check them out. No PDT and futures. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, gold, some currencies. It's the single best way to learn day trading. You're risking something. Base one's $50 a month. If you pass it, you get a $50K funded account. If you fail it, you lose $50 versus funding your own account thousands and thousands of dollars. They pay out millions, fund thousands. Zero commission on TopStepX as well, so the edge is even higher. No PDT rule. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, gold. I'm waiting to trade here, guys, so might as well do a plug. But if you want to check them out, you can see it pinned at the top of the chat. They're an investment, or they're a sponsor of mine, so I'm biased. But NVIDIA breaking down here. Look at this, still dropping. Again, I'm not really trading right now. I'm out of everything. I scalped gold at the open, but I got out pretty quickly in the profit. Apple's bouncing back up, and NVIDIA's free falling down here. Again, Apple turning around. So we did bounce here at this 88 level. A lot of it's going to depend on what NVIDIA does here. Look at NVIDIA fall. Alright, in our other account, we scalped this one. Apple turned pretty quickly, though, but NVIDIA's bouncing back. Alright, let's see about this 310 level. This level right here. 309, 310. I gotta start scalping my levels here. Look at that. Look at that. Even if it continues over it, you can see the market respect the level I have. I gotta start using it. Powell's already spoke, guys. Powell had a speech at 8. He started speaking at about 8:55 this morning, about 40 minutes ago. At about 8:55 this morning, he started speaking. It didn't last long. It lasted for about 3 minutes, and then he was done. All right, we streamed it live as it happened. They were late to start it. It was supposed to start at 8:30. Instead, it started at like 8:55. So he was really late to start it. But we also talked about what he said multiple times already. Look, if I go to my stream here, here's my stream. Times already. Right, if we go to my stream right here. Okay. And, look. Here's Powell speaking right here. Look.
An efficient banking system for the benefit of the people we serve.
All right, so the overarching point I'm trying to make is we already covered the Powell speech. Yeah. Yeah, all good. All good, T. Yeah, you missed it. It's all good, brother. All right, this 310 level is still holding pretty firm. We're 7 minutes into the day. We've gotten into 1 or 2 day trades since the open, but yeah, all good, T. No worries. All right, AMD breaking down. AMD under 150, 155. AMD just broke lows. Gold's dipping down a little bit now. Look at AMD. Just cracked lows of the day. Down to almost 154s. Yeah, all good, Tiny. No worries. I try my best to give you guys everything. Apple's starting to rebound back up. I think Apple's one of the reasons the market's been climbing back higher. Look at Apple. It opened up red, then it kind of rebounded back up. We now have like a cup formation here on Apple, although Nvidia and AMD and Microchip still looking kind of weak. Powell didn't really say anything regarding the economy. He's in a blackout period right now, so he's not allowed to speak on economic policy, current economic policy, monetary policy. So next Wednesday is going to be the bigger report in a week from now. Obviously, it's the FOMC decision. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, guys. Help me bring these sub numbers up. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. All right, we're trying to get over this level. We got the 200 exponential at 320. Apple's climbing up, though. Nvidia's still breaking down. I still kind of want to short this, though. Let me see. I'm going to short this right here. We got a nice cushion. Actually, I'm in the wrong account for you guys to see it. Let me put the other one up. We might add a little bit to this short and look to scale in at the 200 exponential right here. We have 4 micros. Just looking for a flush down. There we go. I'm going to take some off here. Nice. Take a majority off of it down there and then hold the rest. See if we really flush down. There we go. Nice little breakdown. I'm going to cut it right there. All right, cool. Short worked. Apple's still rising up, though. Apple just broke the opening bell high here. Powell spoke at 8:55 in the morning about 45 minutes ago, guys. Apple's running right now, though. He already spoke. So, I can't remember exactly when the blackout period starts. I know it's like, I think it's the Thursday prior to any Fed meeting. They're barred from speaking about monetary policy. Is what I think it is. I think it's the Thursday before the Fed meeting. It's a 10-day window during which the Fed governors, regional bank presidents, and others officials are prohibited from making monetary policy comments or economic outlook. It begins midnight Eastern time on the second Saturday before the FOMC meeting. It ends Thursday after the FOMC meeting. So from this Fed meeting, it started on Saturday, July 19th. So it started last Saturday is when the blackout period starts. And it ends Thursday, July 31st, so the day after the FOMC decision is what happens here. I could have stayed in that short a little bit longer, but it's all right. We made our money. Here, I'm going to put, here. Powell's speech ended around 9 a.m. He did not comment on monetary policy. There you go, guys. We'll leave that up. All right, NVIDIA breaking down is at 167.80s. Yeah, Bitcoin, other crypto stocks. Bitcoin's up to almost highs of the day right now, though. A lot of other stocks are trending down. Tesla's testing lows. AMD and Nvidia are both really falling down. Look at Nvidia. So this is what's dragging the market down. Apple's actually up, though, today. Tesla's down a little bit, but it's flat. Yeah, Amazon got upgraded a couple times this morning. Bitcoin just broke highs of the day, almost back up to 120s. All right, guys. Hey, thank you, Corey. Have a good day, bro. All right, NASDAQ's not breaking down some more here. This is following NVIDIA's trend, AMD's trend. Apple is still up since the opening bell. It's still green on the day, though. Yeah, so I got myself a new guitar yesterday. It was a Les Paul. I got myself a Les Paul. It's just a pretty cheap guitar. I've been trying to learn a bunch of Misfits songs, like Saturday Night. I've been trying to learn a bunch of different ones, as well as like some Blink-182 songs. I want to learn Dysentery Gary, which is a fun song. Hybrid Moments, I want to learn that too. Tesla pushing up. NASDAQ bouncing up a little bit. So Tesla's rebounding pretty quickly right now. So we also have AMD down there, NVIDIA down there still, but they're both rebounding, AMD and NVIDIA. So Microchip's starting to bounce back, but a very small bounce. It's not really anything significant. And now Apple's kind of turning here. So I mean, this one was pretty, I mean, it was like $600. It wasn't like a nice, trust me, my daughter and I went into like the showroom for like the really nice guitars. And I told her when I went in there, I was like, do not let me buy an expensive guitar. I'm too hard on guitars, I really am. I can't really justify an expensive one. I like the Misfits. I like all the different versions of the Misfits too. All right, so we're breaking down. We're at 263. Apple, look at Apple turn here. Apple turning down is at 212.70s. Yeah. I like the Danzig gears. You know. All right, guys, so we're still following down. Apple's right at the previous closing price, though. So look at Apple. So if I put up the previous closing price, look at the previous closing price right here, and you can see where it bounces. So if you're not watching the previous closing price, you're missing out on, you're missing out. I don't know. I like Danzig. I like Famous Monsters, though, with Michael Graves. That's one of my favorite Misfits albums. All right, so we're breaking down. We're at 233s. Look at the NASDAQ fall fast here. This is, again, NVIDIA driven. Look at NVIDIA fall down to 167s. AMD down to 152s. Tesla down to 327s. Apple rebounding a little bit at that previous closing price, but markets are falling quick here. I don't know, man. I learned to play on I learned to play guitar. My wife and I went to Six Flags, right? And again, I'm talking about markets because we're too extended on either side for me to really be interested in buying this here. I could buy a dip. Let me think about it. All right, we'll buy a dip. We're gonna buy this dip down here. So I learned to play guitar. I went to Six Flags. Hold on. And the guitar I learned to play on was a plastic Tweety Bird guitar that I won at Six Flags. right? And I learned on that. I taught myself how to play on that thing. I'm going to add a little bit more to it down here. I taught myself to play on that thing. I'm going to take half of it off right there immediately into the profit. And then we're going to sit on the rest. There we go. All right, I'm going to cut it right there. So I learned to play on a plastic Tweety Bird guitar. And I taught myself on that thing. By the time I got a real guitar, it was so much easier on the real guitar. And so I learned to play on like the crappiest guitar that you could ever learn on. And by the time I got played on a real guitar, it was much easier. I think it really teaches you how to learn better if you learn on something crappy like that. Shout out to the Tweety Bird pink Tweety Bird guitar I learned how to play on. All right, so Apple's bouncing at the previous closing price. It's kind of flat since the opening bell, but Nvidia is just still falling really, really fast. I'm trying to see if there's any news here to justify Nvidia's downfall at the opening bell, but this is a big pullback here. Okay, so apparently there were reports of significant disagreements between OpenAI and SoftBank regarding the operational control and execution of the ambitious 500 billion Stargate AI project, leading to a substantial scale back of its original scope. I don't really see anything else. I'm looking up this stuff now here, chat, so bear with me. Regarding microchips, Nvidia and AI all breaking down pretty quick. Let me see. So many people spamming trade signals to figure out what the actual news is. If anybody else sees the news, let me know. I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't know anything about guitars. I really don't. All right, AMD at 152. Let's see if we start to get some bounces here. We're hitting into some support. Let me buy this dip now. We'll add it to it too. See if we can use the profit we've made on the day to build up more. I don't mind taking some risk here and just kind of buying the dip. See if I can catch something. We'll add into 6 contracts. Eesh. Don't catch a falling knife is what they say. And I tried. Again, Nvidia is still falling down here is what it is. But we're kind of retracing back up, so it's not as bad as it could be. We're trying to add some more to this. See if I can catch a rebound. We're kind of flat now. I'm going to take half of this off just to protect the trade, since now we're basically flat on the day, and I can maybe like regroup and figure out what I want to do here on the rest. It's a big drop, so we're going to add some here to it. See if we can catch some more down to this 175 level. Trying to take a risk here in this account. This is one of my expendable funded accounts. But we built up some profit in this one. Trying to catch a rebound, but it's not really happening. I think eventually we're going to have to rebound. Just in terms of like exhaustion. But I'm trying to play it smart and not risk too much. Alright, so we've retraced halfway. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to cut this, guys. Trying to take more risk on this one. This is one of my actual, like, we've got a big cushion on that one anyway, but you don't love to see it. The NASDAQ is just dumping down fast. One of those kind of black swan moments. Tesla down big too. I wonder if big money is selling into earnings. Because this is nasty. You think we stop here or continue down? Philip Moore says that US FDA response. Yikes, dude. I'm trying to see if there's any news. CFO says FDA response to LQOS Luma application may not come until 2026. I don't really see any justification for this big breakdown, though. Apple's kind of turning red, too. It's mostly microchips. Let's see if we can find anything else. Yeah, where's ASML at? Is ASML still falling? Yeah, see if we can finally get a rebound, but everything's so red. There's a little bit of a squeeze back up. See if it holds now. Yeah, we got a little bit of a rebound back up here. Looks like we're still squeezing back up after a lot of shorts got involved. So I ended up catching up a lot of this. So I actually bought the dip in the same account that we lost on. And it looks like we got out just in time. I mean, we're still red on the day, but you can kind of see, let me stretch this out a little bit. You can kind of see we just made 400 back, give or take. And so I don't know if I want to mess with that one anymore. Not too much here. You can see we're green on the other account that we're trading on too. But man, what a crazy string of red. Apple's starting to fight its way back up too. Yeah, we're grinding some more up here. We basically made all the money we lost back. Last trade, we're up 90 ticks here, give or take. I'm going to add a little bit more to this and then hold it break even maybe. See if we can ride this back up. Very close to cutting it. There we go. I'm gonna take half off there. Bad fill on the rest, but maybe we'll add back at the bottom. There we go, we'll add 3. We're not gonna take more than 3. We gotta trade a little bit risk averse here. See if we bounce here. If we can't, then we're just gonna cut it. Yeah, I'm just gonna start cutting it. I want to give it time for a bounce, but we only cut 1. Yeah, too big of a breakdown. But again, like you can see, the string of trades we got into was pretty solid here. Kind of a drastic move down. Now I just want to see if it continues. Oh, here, I'm realizing that part of this is cut off on the screen. Yeah, AMD and Nvidia, man, they just dumped down here with a huge swing to the downside. Yeah, now's NASDAQ's testing this low of the day again. Is the momentum going to show back up? Let's see. We're close to the lows here, so anything could happen. We could squeeze down or up, but looks like we're going down. We're right at this low here, so let's see what happens. Bouncing back up a little bit. Look at this rip to the green. And then a fade all the way back down. Bull trap. There's 10 o'clock. Nvidia looks like it wants to bounce though. We got the Richmond Fed survey. Here's the pump down. All right, we're testing this low again. Selling pressure showing up. Let's see if it holds. We broke lows. We tested lows again. Now we're reaching back down there. Let's see if we hold now. Apple looks like it's trying to bounce back up. We just got to watch Nvidia here. Like Apple's trying to get back up there. Nvidia's still breaking down. ASML's still hella weak. Tesla weak too. NASDAQ looks like it wants to head back up. Oof. All right, guys. So we are. Sorry, I'm trading a little bit off stream just because it was a rough start to the day, but we got ourselves basically break even in this account. But man, it's been a look at this. Look at these trade strings. So we got really patient waiting for this move to come back up, and we finally got it. But man, it's been brutal, crazy day, honestly. It looks like we got out just in time too. So we're lucky we're close to flat. We're kind of flat. Like we're green on one account, about $50. We're red on another account, about $50. So we're basically flat in everything. But big swings coming back and forth here. We might try to trade this a little bit more, but it's been a volatile day. I gotta watch just Nvidia and Apple here. Nvidia and Apple, very volatile. Apple turning to the downside some here. AMD really weak. ASML just cracked lows again. Tesla back up to 325s. Paper trade, yeah, it might be a good idea, Lynette. It really might be. I mean, look, I'm trying to trade volatility, and when we get big volatility there like that, you know, I think it's okay, but I think today I was a little bit too volatile in my trading. I'm just glad I'm basically flat, to be honest. I'm down less than $60 on one account, and then I'm up like 50 something in another, so I'm basically flat, which is fine with me. Yeah, I can't find any real news on why NVIDIA was down so much this morning. I really don't. If you guys have any updated news, let me know. Microsoft accuses the hackers of exploiting SharePoint. Only 11% of companies with insider activity are seeing more buying than selling. The lowest share on record. Over the last decade, this figure has never fallen below 15%. Right now, it's at 11%. So basically, there's not a lot of buying going on right now. Nothing is like major though. And again, if you want to check out Top Step, great way to help support this channel. No PDT and futures. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, gold, some currencies. Patterns are very similar to blue chip stock patterns. I'm going to try to buy this dip real quick and maybe add a little bit more, and then when we break under 125, I'll just cut it. I see a lot of stocks starting to rebound back up. And so we're going to see if we can catch something here. There we go. There we go. All right, I'm going to cut that there. Just made about $30 here. So now we're net green on the day, which is really nice. You know, I'm seeing a lot of Mag 7. One of the things I do, like trading futures, and this is why Top Step is useful, even if you like stocks better, is because I can watch NVIDIA, Apple, Amazon, Meta, Netflix, see what they start to do, and then try to capitalize it on the NASDAQ, which is the NASDAQ is filled with all these stocks, right? So I can day trade the futures market, the NQ, no PDT rule, the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, whatever you want to trade, gold right now. And, you know, you can do so on Top Step starting at $50 a month. It's just a good way to learn. You can check out the link pinned at the top of the chat. We did get that rebound back up there, but they're a sponsor of mine. I'm biased. Most day traders lose money, including here. Regardless of where you go, you're probably going to lose, right? But it's a lot cheaper to lose here most of the time. That's the benefit of it. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of volatility. The only thing that worries me is people selling into earnings tomorrow. Like, we got big earnings dropping tomorrow. There's a lot of sell pressure coming out at the opening the day before. I think that could be a negative sign, but you never know. Yeah, all good, Lynette. No worries. I think a lot of bearish action in Mag 7 stocks has happened. Tesla's starting to come back, though. I'm seeing a lot of rebounds. Apple, the only thing, though, is like Apple's such a heavily weighted stock. If it starts to turn down, it might drag the NQ down with it. Like, you can see how much volatility we have because I draw all these levels on my charts, right? But we're moving in such a big range today that they seem more scrunched together than they usually are, you know? Like, normally the range is smaller, recently especially, and so we don't really see this many close tests of all the levels. So I'm gonna have to maybe get rid of these, some of these, like this one maybe. We got like 175 right here, might be useful. No, we got Google, Tesla tomorrow. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna sit out now. We're green net on the day, and so I think that's good enough for me. I'll take it. I'll get out of here. Again, check out Top Step. Give me a follow on X at Beginner Trades. At Beginner Trades on X. Great way to help support the channel. We need like 35 followers to break 4,000, which is a big moment for me on X. So follow me now at Beginner Trades. I appreciate it. We cover all the breaking news live. And so, yeah, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Tesla, Google earnings at the closing bell. Tomorrow morning at the opening bell, we have AT&T, Thermo Fisher, and more. So we got a bunch of stuff going on. So again, be safe, be ready. I love you all. Have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Remember, not an investment professional, not liable if you lose. Be safe. Hey, if you're up $300, that's good, bro. Y'all have a great day.